Alright, this will hopefully be a series of videos of trying to get this old beast up and running. This is actually a junkyard find, and by far the heaviest thing I've ever gotten at the junkyard, or moved in general, period. According to the scale at the junkyard, this guy weighs about 1,250 pounds. I rented a trailer from Home Depot and used my friend's engine hoist to get it out. But this guy is a 4-cylinder, water-cooled, 3-phase generator. Here's the sticker, or should I say nameplate. 104 amps of 120/208 3-phase. I think this guy was made around the 1970s. I was thinking earlier, but this thing actually has a fair number of solid-state components in it. The engine on this thing is just like a standard gasoline type engine, but this unit was fitted for gas operation. In this case it was propane. There's actually the original tag here. LP gas. But this engine's an old cast iron beast made by Hercules, which I had never really heard before, but apparently they were big between World War I and then World War II. They made a ton of engines, but then they couldn't really handle things after the Second World War and ended up going defunct in 1999. Now, some of the older generator sets will actually have the starter motor built in as windings of the generator, but this one's a lot more like a typical car engine. You've got a regular starter and solenoid down there, and a very typical looking car alternator to recharge the battery. Got a big fan cooled radiator. It's got an old style oil bath air filter. I wonder if I might be able to get like a modern, just paper filter that doesn't require oil to put in this thing. This whole wire mesh thing sits in a bath of oil. Now, normally I wouldn't buy something like this, but the fact that it was in such good condition, and he only wanted $250 for it, so I couldn't say no. It seems like this one is one of the more base models. You can see there's like a lot of blank plates here on the controls, where they would have had extra gauges and stuff if it was one of the higher end models. But that's not a problem. We can certainly add all kinds of gauges and stuff if this thing does end up working. So this box is just the power output. Not sure what's in the black box there. But there's your 3-phase output with the neutral on the left bonded to the housing. Well, the funnel plugged up pretty much immediately from all the rust chunks coming out of the water drain. So, I have to go slow to see the lovely water that came out. Alright, I just got done flushing about 2 buckets worth of rusty colored water out of the engine. Now, since this thing was sitting outside for about a week before I could pick it up, it got snowed on a bit, so next step is going to be to get all the water out of there, pull a spark plug, get new spark plugs, and then I'll pick up some antifreeze and get this thing filled back up, because it's supposed to get pretty cold this coming week, down to the single digits. Alright, went and picked up some fresh coolant, get it filled up here. I hope 3 gallons is enough. Looks like it holds just about 2 gallons. Not, of course, counting whatever was left in the engine. So after buying a socket that can actually unscrew these spark plugs, I realized I don't have a 1/2-inch drive ratchet. So made yet another trip, grabbed some socket adapters. So this guy should do what I need. Here. Plug looks clean. And when I went to get new spark plugs for this, they found a compatible code for this, and then they had to use a compatible code for that to find one that they had in stock. And this one still has a threaded post on it with an adapter. So let's see here. Go. Looks pretty good. I think before I put the new spark plugs in, I'm going to take all of them out and see if it'll crank over. Alright, so I'm getting ready to try and crank this thing, because I think there's a little bit of water that got into the exhaust. So I have the spark plugs pulled out, and I've got my bank of supercapacitors here charged to 13 volts. And I'm going to use my jumper cables as some oversized alligator clips. So looks like these battery cables are still in pretty good condition. So I'm just gonna clip directly onto the starter. Well, they've even put looks like silicone or petroleum grease on there. That's good. I think I will clip onto these instead. Alright, let's see what happens. Alright. I think we got a little bit too much resistance here, probably in all the cabling. Yeah, it's chattering. I'd almost have to take the balancing circuit boards off the super caps to make them fit without damaging the circuit board, because those battery clamps aren't going to really be compatible with the studs. They're too small on the super caps. And I don't really have any big spare lead acid batteries. I have a couple of them for my solar system, but they don't have the standard battery posts like that. They just have tiny little bolt terminals. Yeah, maybe I'll try clipping on more directly. Good news is all the electrical still seems to be in good shape. Ooh, yep, I want to do that. Everything is grounded pretty much. Let's try that. It did use up some power. There we go. Nope. Got a good connection. These jumper cables probably just aren't good enough. I'll have to figure something else out. Alright, this wasn't fun to get out of the basement, and it's not an engine starting battery, but let's see if it has enough juice to crank it over. Almost. It almost had it going. Nope. Might have to actually buy a battery for this. Yeah, these clips can't really get a good bite on this. One more. I just don't think it's got the grunt. Even though these jumper cables are copper wire, I'm sure they're not helping. I'm just gonna chew up the starter doing that. Well, I guess that might have to go for next time. Alright, I figured I'd do one more shot and just try the original battery leads and just hold them on with my foot. Well, that certainly made a big difference. Alright, so I got the water purged out of the exhaust. I think the next step would be to figure out fuel. That'll come in part 2.